I don't
We
know how
are
to change
live.
backgrounds on this.
Hey, we're too late. We're live. Everybody
We're
can see
live
the
anyway.
room now.
Okay, well, there we go.
Oh, if you saw our Facebook post earlier today, you know why Will's absent. He's playing in Colorado with, not Colorado, probably be better in Colorado, but he's playing in California at the Roadster Show with his Impala. You can check out some distance photos of that. Derek's, he's in Arizona in Scottsdale, and ironically, he's not there for the auctions. He's there for work, and it's not for the auctions. He's not even sure he's going to make it over to Barrett Jackson, he said, or any of those. And we probably should. Well, maybe we'll review those next week. If any listeners are out there that want to comment and see if they want to really hear us review the auctions again. So it's just Sean and I tonight, and I put a generic title on this episode because Sean likes racing. So,
do I?
Racing through the world. So we can talk about car racing. We can just race through it. I mean, this is no driving gloves, and it should be something to do with electricity because Tesla had their earnings report today, and no Cybertruck this year.
What?
I was you almost had to pick my jaw off the ground.
They're not gonna.
They're introducing no new models this year, so no Roadster, no Cybertruck deliveries in this year. Maybe next year, no promises. They're focusing all their energies on robots. We're going to have Tesla robots by the end of the year, and they will be manning the factories. So your self-driving car will be assembled by a self-driving or a self-operating being or something like that. I don't know.
I am exceedingly confused. I hadn't seen that one, man.
Well, it's the earnings report today. It just came out today. I just wonder if all of a sudden, say about June or July, you can put a deposit down on your Tesla robot.
But I truly don't understand. I really, really, really don't understand. There were so many things that were supposed to come out with Tesla it's supposed to already be out, right? All right, that virtual background is terrible.
2022 was always the release year for the Roadster and the, what do you call it? The Cybertruck. But as was noted right around January 1st, both of them disappeared from the website. So people were speculating, are they actually going to happen? Do they want people to forget about it? Or were they removed because they were going to announce that, hey, we're going to start deliveries and the whole, Cybertruck page would change? I say the deposits on the robot because, and I'm sorry, Elon, and a lot of other people seem to be in agreement, they introduce odd things and take deposits, which is a huge influx of cash to the company. Remember, we did flamethrowers that threw, $800 a pop. I can't remember how many flamethrowers they did, 10,000 or something.
Right.
What is that? $8 million all the way into the company. You do the $100 deposits on the Roadster, you get 1,000 of those. You do, it's not huge amounts of cash, but it adds up. And, you hear about all the news, but I think people were still putting deposits down on Cybertrucks all the way through December until they disappeared off the website because you could go there and put a deposit down, just like you can go to Ford's website right now and put deposits down on the Lightning. Even though, Ford keeps saying they're going to increase production, but they still have more orders than they're going to be able to produce in that first year. Oh, wow. Electric car talk again. Probably scaring people.
You can't get away from it, John. Like it's part of where we're at right now with everything automotive. I mean, there's no way that we can't talk about EVs on just about every show. Like I just, if you're going to talk about current tech, obviously we can go to any era we want to and talk about whatever we want to, but it's That's big news, man. I mean, that's huge news. That's crazy.
Well, Tesla says they don't expect any slowdowns in production. They do expect some be chip limited still, but Tesla's done a really good job of rewriting software and repurposing some chips, so they're not saying we got to have it, ABC 321Z chip here. And if we don't get that, we can't build any cars. They're making, QRS 123Z chip work where that previous chip was supposed to be. So Tesla's doing a really good job of that. And they're saying earnings will be up 50% on the year. They said they're focusing on the robot. They are not going to do a $25,000 car at this point in time.
That's a mistake too.
Okay, you say that's a mistake. Name 3 or 4 good gasoline cars really in that price range. Now, I'm not saying, we can get into BRZs and Toyota 86s and things like that. But, get into a good Camry, you're at that point. Get into a good Accord, you're at that point, unless you're going absolute stripper models. And are you really going to pay $25,000 or $30,000 for a stripped down EV, which is what that would be? Or are you going to pay $25,000 or $30,000 for a, fully equipped Accord or Camry that's gasoline powered?
I think if you have 250 to 300 mile range in the $25,000 EV, then a lot of people would buy that over a Civic or a Corolla, or there are a lot of cars out there in that price range that I think Tesla could make a big impact in that space, a huge impact, especially with when you take a $25,000 buy-in car and then you look at the tax break on top of that.
Tesla's not eligible for tax breaks. They produce too many cars.
I thought it was model based. I didn't think it was manufacturer based.
I think it's manufacturer based. Maybe they get around that, but I'd have
to look at that. I thought it was like you had to sell if Chevy sold so many Volts, then the Volt is no longer eligible, but the Bolt still is. And I think that's how that works. I think. I don't
think that's the way it works, because I looked at it when I was looking at a Volt a few years ago, and I thought Tesla, gets whatever they do, and I would look for the government to quit assisting those purchases. But then let's look at the other dynamic of an electric car here. If you're going to say you're buying a Model 3, $35,000. Nobody's buying a Model 3 for $35,000.
$55,000 car.
I would say everyone that's rolling out is $50K plus. If you've got $50K for it, you probably have the $3,000 to put a charger at your home. If you're buying the economy model at $25K and you're buying the stripper, where are you going to charge the thing? Because do you have 25 plus now 3,000 cash to put a charging station at home?
I'll just charge it off 110.
Yeah. I remember it popped up in my memories this week because it was like my first or second year at Barber's, and we had a Tesla Roadster, the original Roadster, and we got to drive it around and play with it for a few days, but they didn't bring us a charger for it. So we would plug it into the 110, in one of the back rooms, and
wait 6 days.
You get about 6% battery increase overnight.
Right.
And then the first time you do a 0 to 60 run in the thing, you've used up your overnight charge. So you start bringing the price of the EV down, and people buy them because I got to have an EV, and then you sit there and go, where am I gonna fuel it? Oh dang it, I got to drive over to the library, or I got to drive to and plug it in for a couple of hours, or even if you get to a high-speed charging station, then they start becoming that gas station dependent person. But gas stations don't have those chargers, and we talked about it a little bit last week. By the time I think we get to that point, gas stations will have some chargers, but then chargers will be available everywhere. And I still think at-home charging is going to be the whole thing. And I wouldn't be surprised that soon somebody wouldn't introduce a vehicle with an option that includes the at-home charger. Granted,
I'm surprised Tesla hasn't already done it.
Tesla.
It's an integral part of the purchase. It really is an integral part of the purchase. Unless you live in a major metropolitan area, like you live in the city, then maybe it's not that big a deal. But with the propagation of more and more people owning EVs, then even like the large scale, there's 30 chargers in this parking lot. Well, what good's that going to do when there are 1.7 million people in New York City that have EVs? A parking lot with 30 chargers in it is literally going to mean nothing. Nothing.
Hey, you say that, and all of a sudden I got a picture of the beginning of Seinfeld with all the rows of cars. There was always a CRX in the picture. But all those are charging stations, but they're all like the Birmingham parking meters where everybody's stolen the heads off of them.
Right.
So,
right. You'll have like people will be stealing the charging meters like they're stealing cat converters now, and because they can't afford to buy a charging station, and that is an integral part of an EV purchase. I don't understand why it's not bundled already, and I don't you would think that should be financeable with the purchase of the car.
I think the bundling of that, the prohibiting thing is, okay, here's your charger. You need to connect it to 220. Now you've got to pay an electrician $1,000 to come and connect the thing to your house. So it's
just electricity, John. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
If it's 110, it's not going to hurt you too bad. It might kill you. 220 will kill you. I can't tell you the number of times I've electrocuted myself off 110, and all it does is make my hair stand up. But it's a really interesting vibration. But that's for another podcast.
I got hit by a rather large. It was big. Back when I worked in the shipyard, I actually got hit by 440. It went in right hand and went out right shoe. Luckily, did not complete a circuit.
The volts don't kill you; it's the amps that kill you.
Oh, this was enough. This was if it would have completed the circuit, I would have been liquefied. It was crazy. I didn't know who I was for a couple days.
I don't mean to be mean to you, but that'd just be so cool.
Explains a lot, right?
See somebody all of a sudden liquefy.
It explains a lot, I think. We could go down this rabbit hole of EV. Do you want to go down this rabbit hole, or do you want to steer back to?
We're racing through the automotive world. Like I said, I just threw out, the Tesla threw out their, earnings report and that, and it didn't seem to be too crazy. I mean, Musk wasn't too over the top with the whole deal. But where do we want to go with this? Do we want to discuss various forms of racing and where we think it's at in the world, and what's relevant and what's not? Personally, NASCAR sucks. I quit watching Formula One years ago because of the politics, and guess what? I definitely would have quit this year. So, I mean, do we want to go down those roads? Do we just want to keep racing through the automotive world and throwing out these random topics?
We can do a little bit of both, because there's a whole lot of random racing stuff that we could brush over really quickly as well. Before we leave Tesla completely, I'm just going to say hi to Mark. Mark's over in the UK. Hi, Mark. How are you?
Does that mean he's like up at 3?
It's crazy. I don't know why he's awake. I don't know why you're awake, but thanks for tuning in. Sticking with Tesla just for one more second. Haven't they already taken they've already taken boatloads of Roadster and Cybertruck deposits? How does that work? I mean, you've
okay, I've heard people explain this. When did they take Cybertruck money? When the Model Y was coming out. When did they take or maybe Roadster money? When they take Roadster money? When the Model 3 was coming out. It provides a cash infusion to help the current model. It's almost the robbing Peter to pay Paul business model. And there's a lot of people think that's what they're doing. All the deposit money's spent. It's not sustainable, but does Musk really care? He wants to go to Mars. He wants to build robots. In my opinion, he's kind of done with Tesla. He's proven his point. He's created he's created the next generation of automobiles. At some point, Tesla's going to get acquired by somebody for technology. It's going to be an expensive purchase. I mean, their revenues are, what is it? Tesla's, well, 4.09 billion in adjusted earnings.
Their valuation is absurd. Absolutely absurd. I mean, their valuation, Rivian's valuation, Lucid's valuation, all of those. Lucid and Rivian are even crazier than Tesla. Rivian's delivered nothing, yet they're
Rivian's delivering trucks right now.
Yeah, but they delivered a couple thousand, and they're valued at 90 billion or something like that. It's insanity.
It's crazy money, but Rivian, they did, they got a lot of Ford money. You can bet the Ford Lightning that's coming out has got some Rivian tech in it. I'm sure Ford walked away with some tech when they pulled back out of that deal. But I'm going to, okay, where am I going to invest? Tesla, I'm not sure how many. I just have Musk's report of they're going to deliver 1.4 million cars over the next year. I've got, Lucid, where I think Lucid's going to be a real big player against Model S's. But, Taycans and all the new generation of $100,000 electric cars. I think Lucid's going to be a major player there.
Taycan's its own thing. I don't think you can even look at Taycan in the same frame as a Model S or a Lucid. It's a totally different thing.
I don't. Not the way they kind of market the Lucid. I mean, with the 1,000 horsepower, etc. And the price point and 600 miles of range, it brings a lot to the table, starting at 50 or 60 grand.
We've got to see what Lucid does with regard to sustained performance. And that's why I say that the Taycan is its own thing, because you can take a Taycan out and launch it until it dies, and it will give you max performance every time you do it. But there's no battery heating and cooling issues. Literally, you can take it out on a racetrack and beat it to death until there's no charge left, and it will give you maximum performance the entire time. Whereas the Tesla cannot.
The Tesla starts going into a limp mode, and I mean, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, Porsche lets you do that, lets you do that. I mean, go back to launch control on the 911 and launch control on the Nissan GTR. Nissan eventually said, you do more than 10 launch control launches, your warranty's void on the differential. Porsche says, I've got videos where we took the entire staff of the museum out one day and everybody got into a 911 and did a launch control. I mean,
I did events with Porsche all over the country where we would literally have anything from a Carrera S all the way up to a Turbo S. And it was nothing but thrill rides where we would literally put them in launch control, bang them off the limiter, and let them go back to back to back to back to back.
That's what I was saying.
Day in, day out. And they don't die. They do not. They're amazing.
We were doing one every 2 minutes or something, just as long as it took you to, get to 60 in 2 seconds, bring the car back around, unload somebody, load somebody else in, and boom. Yeah. Porsche will do it all day long. But I don't necessarily know if that's the Lucid thing, but Lucid's offering you that kind of performance for half the money with 600 miles of range, and half the money or double the money of the Lucid. And what's going to buy you in a Taycan is 200 miles of range. I mean, you've got to get seriously into the six figures, almost to 200 to start getting a Taycan that's going to give you even close to that. But I still think you're only 300 or 400 miles of range. But, like you said, it's going to play out. Where I was going with the investment, Rivian, I'm going to put money into. I mean, the Amazon orders are going to come through. I mean, when the customers slow down, the Amazon trucks get built, and Amazon seems to keep increasing their orders. And, they're going to need trucks, to shuttle people in space or whatever. So, yeah.
All right, did I hear that did Tesla cancel the Hertz order? Didn't Hertz or Avis order 100,000 cars, and Tesla actually canceled it? I think
I know one of them.
there was a rental car company that ordered 100,000 Teslas, and I believe that Tesla canceled it. Let me see. Tesla cancels Hertz order. Let's see if I'm wrong.
Oh, Musk also said that we'll have full self-driving Teslas, I guess level 4 autonomy by the end of the year in his cars, which you can't sell me on that yet. I'm sorry. He was saying
it was Hertz, and it was beginning of December. There was a bunch of stuff going around that Elon had. It says Elon canceled the order. I doubt Elon came in and said, we're canceling the Hertz. I don't know. But why would you have 100,000 cars sold and then go, you know what? No.
Because you can't. Okay, in this earnings report, they anticipate delivering 1.4 million cars next year. You're asking them to give one.
No. It wasn't 100,000 cars immediately. It was spread. I mean,
okay, but okay, say we go over 3 years, you're still taking what, 10% of the production?
No.
If at 1.4 million a year over 3 years, that's
10% is 140,000. 10% is 140,000.
Yeah,
of 1 year's production. So yeah,
okay,
I mean, maybe it's 1 or 2%, but that's the normal buy for, well, it was until COVID, the normal buy for rental car companies. Now you have rental car companies. Ooh, here's a topic. Rental car companies are holding on to vehicles
way too friggin' long.
Way too, but they don't have a choice. They either hold the vehicles they currently have, or there's nothing to buy. So we're like, I'm in a rental right now because of the wreck that I was in about 10 days ago. And it's got 57,000 miles on it, and it feels like it has 114,000 miles on it.
Well, that rental that I was exposed to 6 months ago, I would say go out and count the lug nuts on your car and then count the lug studs,
Right.
That car had so many issues with it. It was pathetic, and it was only at 30,000. I mean, you have a background in the rental car industry decades ago and that. When's the last time you saw a rental car with more than 20,000 miles prior to COVID?
I mean, it happened, but it was rare. Like the rental car companies they know what vehicles are bringing more money on the resale market. So they will dump the vehicles that are bringing the highest value at any particular time with a set mileage range on them, because they know that their ROI when they put those back out into the market is going to be higher on those. And then they'll keep some vehicles a little longer, but normally it was below 40,000 miles. Like rarely did you see a rental car vehicle 2 years ago with 36 to 38,000 on it. I
don't think I've ever been in a rental with more than 20,000, low 20,000 miles on it. I don't think I've ever seen one begin with a 3 until COVID.
You've been lucky. You've been lucky, but still, I mean, even at that, I mean, we're talking about most rental car companies. Well, I know Enterprise turned their fleet over about every 2 years. I think Hertz and Avis were in the 3 to 4 year range as far as turning their fleets over, like more like 3 years probably. But yeah, it's got to a point right now where I don't think we're coming out of this chip shortage anytime soon. I don't think we're seeing vehicles back on new car lots in any appreciable manner for at least another year and a half, maybe longer. Where's a rental car company going to actually fleet up? There's nowhere for them to fleet up right now.
Well, if we go back into a lockdown and prohibit traveling, they won't need them. See,
well, they won't. They won't exist. They won't exist at all. I drove through the Volvo lot on the way home tonight just because I was right there, and they have 4 cars. 4 cars. Like it's crazy.
I went by a Hyundai dealership today, and they were loaded. I mean,
really.
Yeah. And I go by this dealership at least once every 2 weeks or something, and they usually seem to have a pretty decent new car stock. Now, I don't know. They could all be ordered cars. I mean, and just waiting for the owners to come pick them up. I mean, and I think that might be part of it but yeah, I mean, you go by a Ford dealer and they've got 16 F-150s on their lot, and that's
all they have.
That's a week's worth of inventory, if that, for them.
No, it's a bad week's worth of inventory. It's
some of the other stuff that I do on the side, in addition to podcasting, really puts me into that chip game and paying attention. And everybody keeps saying, "Oh, we're coming out of it." No, we're not coming out of it. I agree with you. It's a couple of years off before we're kind of caught up. And the thing is they were saying, "Oh, we're going to have chips by the end of the year." And I think Ford was one of them. We're going to have chips by the end of the year. Well, those chips, guess where they went? They went into the cars that were ordered, and now they have no chips again. So they have no cars because, they just went to fill orders and fill orders and fill orders. But then again, Ford seems to be delivering Mach-E's all day long. They're delivering the Mavericks all day long. Hyundai's delivering the, I want to say Santa Fe, but that's not it. Whatever their Santa Cruz, the new truck,
or their Ute, or whatever that thing is.
Yeah. I it's too big. It's not the car that they promoted. I mean, it's Ranger size. I don't think it's not a compact pickup.
I wanted a Baja. Like I wanted another Subaru Baja. I thought that's what they were going to build. But
I want a Transit Connect with a pickup truck bed. That would be, to me, that's still the perfect little unibody truck. The Maverick's okay, but I think if you just figured out the structure and cut that box out of a Transit Connect and made that into a pickup, that would be. I really wish that crazy dude Smith Performance would do that.
Yeah.
I've always wanted them to do a mini pickup, so that'd be like the Red Bull cars, and I've always wanted them to do. And when I say mini pickup, I actually mean BMW mini pickup, not just a small truck, or a Transit Connect conversion, or even a Caravan conversion or something.
I just don't think there'd be enough people that. It's tough for him to sell enough VWs, and I mean, he's got the Charger kit, he's got the Beetle and the Golf kit, which they're epic. They're really cool. Like I had a bug truck back in the day. I'd love to have a modern version of a bug truck. I think it's cool.
Oh, I've got a whole thing I'd love to do with his kit and a bug, but I don't know if it can be done. And right now I don't have the money, time, or space to do it. But I think you could really build a really, really cool bug truck. But he's doing the Grand Wagoneer, whoever, but where I'm going is, think of the number of photos you've seen of Astros and Caravans that are made into pickup trucks. I mean, there's quite a few people doing it at home themselves. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a homemade Charger pickup, or the last time I saw a homemade Jetta pickup. I've seen 1 or 2 BMW 3 Series homemade pickup trucks, but I think enough people are actually building Caravan pickup trucks out of Caravans that if he produced a kit to do that, now granted it's a unibody and maybe there's some, huge issues, but everything else he's cutting up's the same way.
Have you seen, I think her name, I can't remember how she pronounces her last name. I think it's Simone Gietch, I think is how she turned it's Giertz is her last name. She's got a YouTube channel, and she does she just builds crazy stuff. And she converted her Model S to a truck. She calls it Truckla, and it's really cool. It's really cool. So there's a market out there for crazy conversions. It's just, I think you gotta pick something that there's a lot of out there that people could go grab, that they wouldn't feel bad about taking a plasma cutter to, or an angle grinder. It's
okay. You don't think, again, you don't think there's enough caravans out there? You don't think they're cheap enough? They all have transmission issues, but I mean,
caravans, yeah, caravans, sure. Transit Connects, maybe not yet. Not here. I mean, over in Europe and the UK, sure, they've been out over there for decades, but we haven't had the Transit over here that long. It's only been a couple of years, hasn't it, since they've been out?
We've had them since 2010. We've had
two
different.
Has it been that long?
Yeah, because we had the original body, and then the one that I had that body style came out in 14, and then they kind of did a pretty good revamp 2 years ago or so for 20, was it? So I think mine was a 19. It's bad. I've owned so many cars I can't even remember the model years anymore. I think I had a 19 Transit Connect, and then in 20 they redid the body.
I loved yours. It was cool.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. The reason I bought it is I thought of it as a mini truck with a topper on it, not a BMW mini truck, as a small truck with a topper on it. So, and I used it as that. I mean, it was a cargo van, and I loaded everything in there, tools, I'd say, kids and whatever else, but that would probably get me in trouble. But since it was the white Predator van,
you drove that van more than you drove your SHO, which was, I mean, you told me you did anyway, that speaks volumes, because the SHO is a hell of a nice car. But
when I had the SHO 2.5 years when I got rid of it, and it had 36,000 miles on it. I had the Transit Connect for 14 months, and I got rid of it with 26,000 miles on it.
That's good. So. I was going to say, and it had 42,000 miles on it. Yeah,
and the SHO, I drove it to just over 2,000 miles, and my girlfriend at the time then totaled her car, and then she drove it because I drove my Velociter I had at the time. I drove that and let her use the SHO, and she put like 8,000 miles on it while I was driving another car. So not even all the miles on the SHO were mine. So yeah, I probably drove the Transit Connect twice as much as I did the SHO.
Easily. Every time I saw you out, you were driving the van. Oh, I'm sorry. 87% of the time I saw you out, you were driving the van.
I liked it. I would kind of have another one. I mean, I love my Mini. You told me about that for years. And once I overcame my problem with Mini, and, started to rejoin the world and go, hey, maybe I should be reasonable and, forgive and forget. And I'm getting better at that. So
Mini Coopers are epic in every way. Like I don't think there's a bad Mini Cooper. Mark just chimed in with Transits are the backbone of Britain, from bank robbers to builders, which, yeah, they are. And they also run really good times around the Nürburgring. Yeah, we could sit here, you and I could sit here and talk about vans forever. I don't know whether that will make for a well listened to or watched show, but we could talk about vans forever, because they just make so much sense. They truly make so much sense. But you want to spin over to your Mini and race through that for just a second? Because I'm curious.
Well,
I've talked to you a little bit since you've gotten it, but I haven't gotten your overall impressions on that vehicle.
Let's close out the vans with, I know a gentleman who has, I'm trying to think. He's not a 1%er. He's probably in the 0.25 percenters. He's got more money than most of us will ever make in our multiple lifetimes, let alone one. and his vehicle of choice. He literally can have anything he wants, and he drives a minivan because it's practical. He can put people in it. It's comfortable. And somebody's going to harass me because I guess I say comfortable weird, but that's my northern accent. You don't like it, too bad. But so, I mean, so I know billionaires that drive a minivan and they could drive anything. My dad drove a minivan and then drove a Lexus for a couple of years and went back to a minivan because, yeah, the Lexus was nice, but the minivan was so much more practical. So what do you want to ask me about my Mini?
I'm just curious how you really like it. Like, what have you gone on any longer drives in it or anything, or has it just been a run around town?
No, I took it back for Christmas. I put.
Did you go up to? Okay, cool.
That 700 miles one way, yeah. And whatever, 2,000 miles on it over the course of 4 or 5 days, and I dreaded that trip because it's a Cooper S. It's not a JCW. It's just an S, but I'm going. It's a little bit stiffer. It's a short wheelbase. It's not going to be comfortable. The SHO was great to travel in. I mean, it was a boat. It was 385 horsepower, and it was fast. It was fun. It was great for road trips. I mean, that is a nice car to eat up road miles in for less than, I paid less than 40 grand for that. Brand new. The Mini did the exact same thing. Now, granted, I traveled up on Christmas Day, and if you ever want to travel long distances, either do it during the beginning of a pandemic, or right. Do it on Christmas Day. There's no semi. I mean, it's probably even better on Christmas Day because there's really no semis out. I got almost all the way out of Alabama before I saw my first semi on the interstate with me. You could set the cruise control, and if you needed to pass somebody, you weren't playing all the games that you normally do. The trip up was one of the most pleasurable drives I had. It was smooth. The car ran great. I'm trying to remember, I got 44 miles a gallon, which, since it uses premium, is a big deal.
You're getting over 40 on the highway in that thing?
I was getting I got 44 on the way up. And by the whole trip, I averaged 41. That included the city driving I did.
Good Lord, I had no idea that the S got that good a fuel economy.
Now,
I had no clue.
Now I cheated because I did put it in green mode. I would set the cruise going up. I set the cruise and put it in green mode. And that does contribute a little bit to the gas mileage. Like when I'm going to Tuscaloosa, I always put it in green mode because 20 between Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, you can put it in green mode and set the cruise. If I'm going to do that, I usually set the cruise around 75. And granted, everybody on the road's passing me and such, but my house is the same distance from Tuscaloosa as it is to Trussville, and I can't do that on 459. You can't set the cruise on 459 between here and Trussville just because of the traffic and the way the differences. But no, long trip, it was great. Moving, everybody knows I moved a few months ago. I used I rented a 18-foot or 20-foot U-Haul and had it 3/4 full. That was my couch. That was my kitchen table. That was, my, 65-inch TV. That was, the big stuff, my big bookcase, things like that. That's what went in that truck. Everything else in this apartment came in the Mini. And it's amazing the amount of cargo, and it's a standard 2-door hardtop. The amount of cargo I can put in that thing and haul, blows my mind also. And then you put the thing in sport mode, it's a completely different animal. You put it in sport mode, you put it in manual, and it's a 7-speed dual clutch. So it's one of the most fun cars I've had. And I've been tempted to ask on the CRX forums how many people that are on the CRX pages have a Mini. It reminds me so much of my CRX SI. Mm-hmm. And we, if you're a regular listener to the podcast, you know how much I love my CRX SIs. I think it's a modern day CRX SI in the Cooper S form with the power it has, with the economy it has, with the space it has. The only difference is it's not as dependable. And I don't know how many of these things are going to be running around in 40 years. You know, it is a BMW. It is one of the most terrifying cars, I think, on the road to do repairs to if it's not under warranty. I will not own my car when it's not under warranty.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I'm the same way with the Alpha. I don't really ever want to get rid of the Alpha. I love that car, and so does the Tasha. But owning any modern era car though that's out of warranty is just you're just gambling, man.
There's a reason I can go out and buy a S600 Mercedes, for 15 grand. That's
I want one
10 years old.
you know why I want the S600 Mercedes. I want the V12 so bad. And I only want it for one reason.
When I first moved down here, there was a S600 on, it's now a tire place on 280, but they used to sell exotics or toy cars. And they had an S600 Lorenzo body kit, Lorenzo wheels. I mean, just, pimped out to the max, but a nice car. But the thing was 28 grand. And damn well the day that car was sold and built, it was 150, 170K. That granted, that was 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And we both have a mutual friend that bought a Rennsport SL, and he bought it for, this 20,000 mile car, and he paid maybe $1 a mile. I think he paid 23,000 for it. And it was an SL 600 with the Rennsport body kit and the ECU tuning and everything done to it.
It's a 750 horsepower car.
I think. And he bought it for pennies on the dollar because they're old cars and they are as expensive as crazy to fix. Was it the W120? I want to say 124 chassis, but I'm probably wrong. Whatever the boxy SL, the one that came after the 89 to whatever SL 560s and that. Those cars, it's $6,000 for the hydraulic top cylinders if the top doesn't want to go up and down. But those cars are now getting old enough that you can almost justify doing it because they're going to be the next appreciating Mercedes. I mean, right now, the 74 to 88 SL 380 SLs and the 560 SLs are kind of, the next cars now that 190s and the 280s have went crazy. So
I wish the 190s would truly go crazy because I have one that's crazy rare.
I'm talking the SL 190s from the 60s. I'm not talking.
You're not talking mine. I wish my 190 would go crazy.
It's got to be the right one. Right now the what are they? The 190E 2.3 16 valves, the Evos. Those are in great, good shape in that they're hitting the right numbers and some crazy numbers for well cared for low mileage examples. And part of me thinks it's a better car than the E30 M3s. And that's the 88 to 90 BMW M3. I hate people who use chassis numbers. Tell me a model year and what the dumb little sticker on the back of the car says.
It's the 2.5 in the Evo car, the 2.5 16 valve would definitely, I think it was definitely a better car than the E30 M3. The 2.3 16 valve is, it's okay. But the chassis, the 190 chassis it's incredible. It really, for a car like mine was built in 1984, and it's still it handles incredibly well on some decent tires. Now, granted, we have recently gone through all the suspension, all the bushings, all the tie rods, everything that had wear and was sloppy has been rectified, and it's just, but it's such a good chassis. Unfortunately, ours has a 238 valve in it and a 4-speed manual it was geared for the Autobahn because it was a German car originally, and it was brought over here from Germany back in '85. So the thing, not only is it making no power, it's geared for the Autobahn, So I mean, like as soon as you shift into third gear, it's like, oh, this ride is completely over, and it wasn't really good in first and second. But the chassis itself is incredible, absolutely incredible.
You said the magic word there, and let's hit on that because it's kind of literally racing through the world. What about the Bugatti run on the Autobahn that just came to light on YouTube?
Enlighten me. I don't know that I've seen it. Was it a Chiron or Chiron or whatever?
It was a Chiron. Two guys took it out. The belief it was probably early on a Sunday morning. There's a section of the Autobahn somewhere where it's like 6 miles straight, no speed limit. And they hit 302 miles an hour or something like that in it, excess of 400 kilometers an hour, and kind of cool to watch. And you really, to me, there wasn't enough traffic to get a sense of 300 miles an hour, but there was enough traffic to get a sense of 300 miles an hour. But now all of a sudden, of course, the speed limit police are all jumping out saying, see, we really need to put speed limits on these roads because people will be crazy and go out and do something like that. And
so one person in the 80 years that's been a thing has done that. So it's now we have to, we got to crack down.
Now that we have well, they've been talking about speed limits for a while. This just gives more ammo because, okay, the Chiron's what, 1900 horsepower, 1800 horsepower. The next Bugatti is going to be faster. We just said the Lucids, 1,000, 1,200 horsepower. We're coming out cars that are capable of those speeds now. We've never had that in the past, and now we're putting them into the hands of anybody who's got $4 or $5 million for a car. So I think there's some validity in saying, it's going to become a more regular occurrence. I don't think somebody's going to be doing it, every week, but people are going to, go there. And I mean, if you got $5 million for a Bugatti or $4 million for a Bugatti, what's to prevent you from, let's go ahead and spend 30 grand and ship it over to Germany so I can do a run on the Autobahn, because you need that 4 to 6 miles of pavement to hit those kinds of speeds and then to slow down from those kinds of speeds. And then, of course, you have to ship it off, get new tires and everything for it.
I'd love to comment on the fact that we are sitting here talking about $4+ million cars casually. We're not going, that car's $4 million. Like we've entered into a realm over the last handful of years where a $2.3 million car is like, oh, okay, a $4 million car. Okay, it's a $4 million car. There's no provenance, brand new car, 0 miles, didn't win Le Mans 6 times, didn't win the Mille Miglia, literally has nothing going for it other than that's an amazing engineering exercise.
And 150 people have the same exact car. What's the
I can't believe we're here, man. Like I remember when $250,000 was like, holy shit, that's a crazy expensive car. And now we're $5+ million and not even batting an eye. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Don't get me wrong, it's still an impressive sum of money for a car, and wealth is proportionate to income, and it's also proportionate to the people you hang out with. You become, as you hang out with wealthy people, then they say, that helps motivate you to become wealthy, blah, blah, blah. You become, you kind of grow to the level or shrink to the level of the people you hang around. And, I'm fortunate enough to have a couple of friends that have $2 million cars and have $4 million cars. And, and some of them own multiple, 7-figure cars.
Unbelievable.
But yeah, you're right. For the 2019, 2020 Ford GTs all day long are $1 million. Koenigsegg, $250,000 for a set of wheels.
Right.
And it's, you want you don't want us to paint it. You want it bare carbon fiber. which seems like a step backwards, but there's a lot of laying up of the carbon fiber and such, but to make sure all the weave matches. But to be honest, the weave has to be that way. I think a painted car and an unpainted car, whether it be a Ford GT or a Bugatti, bare carbon or painted, the carbon's going to lay up and match because it's scientifically designed for those fibers to go those ways to put that stress on it. And if you have a slight wave in your carbon fiber or the thread of carbon through the carbon fiber weave, you reduce the strength of that single thread by 50%. So don't tell me that you lay up the car a little bit more carefully, make sure the doors match and things like that. And then charge me an extra $100,000 or $200,000, or in Koenigsegg's case,
an extra $1.5 million.
I think Koenigsegg's case, it was $400,000 to get an all carbon car. For only $400,000. Do you realize I can buy any what do I want to say? I want to say any Huracan on the
for
market
$400,000, I can buy pretty much anything I want.
It's not going to get you into an Avented door. It's not going to get you into an 812.
I don't fit in them anyway. I don't want one. I've driven an Aventador once. I didn't get to flog it, but I've had a bunch of different Lambos on racetracks. I don't fit in Lamborghinis, so I don't need to worry about them. I don't need to worry about them at all.
That's why I like my size. And some crazy reason, I don't know why, but I actually bought a gym membership this week, so we'll start maybe getting a little less round. And
good job. Pass me some of that motivation when I get this back.
I was motivated to buy the membership. I haven't yet been motivated to use the membership.
Nice.
So, but I plan on swinging by tomorrow morning to walk around the place to see.
Are you going to drive? You're going to just drive by.
I've got to
drive
be
by
out in
slowly
and
just try to soak it in.
Well, I need to go walk through it to see what, I didn't even tour the place before I joined. I stopped and visited and chatted, but I need to tour the place and kind of casually watch the people working out. So I know what I need to buy to wear, because they're going to look at me really funny if I go in there in blue jeans and a t-shirt to exercise,
just wear,
get on the bench,
steel toe boots, cargo shorts. You're fine.
I got swim trunks I don't use for any other reason. Maybe I can work out in those. I mean, Perfect. They come with built-in underwear and everything. So
how did we get here? How did we? I don't want to be here right now at all.
It's not
it's the whole let's get back to. I'm the one pulling us back from a tangent.
Non-alcoholic beer.
Oh my God! Don't ever do that again. The $1 million car, when we truly reached the $1 million mark, was that not the Ferrari, the P1 and the 919 that did that? Weren't all those right at $1 million when they were launched?
The 918 base was like 920. The P1 was $1 million, maybe $1.1 million.
But those three cars sort of set the precedent for. You can build a car granted, the LaFerrari, those three cars were never built in high volume, but compared to other vehicles that had previously been sold for over $1 million or approaching $1 million brand new, the production value, the production numbers are fairly high, in the hundreds, not in the tens. So those cars sort of opened the floodgate for Bugatti to go, all right, cool, 4.5 million, 5.7 million. We're going to build this one off. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it just literally has gotten crazy.
Well,
absolutely crazy.
Well, I think you had the 918 and you had the P1, and don't forget the 918's damn near 10 years old now. So we've had some inflation and some things like that, and it's become a little bit norm. I think the car that probably pushed that was the Pagani Huayra.
Yeah.
Huayra. 2.2 was its base, and that's the first one that I really remember that people started to go, oh, 2 million, and then after that it was, the Veyrons were all 2 million, but they had a run, and they had a run of 200 of those. Took them a couple of years to sell them, but on the flip side, the Chiron, there's a long tail super sport something else, and I mean it's supposed to be the fastest Chiron out there. They're all bare carbon fiber with a orange racing stripe, and they're building 30 of them. And they're $5 million a pop. So I'm paying $5 million so I can look like 29 other people.
Well, hopefully they're only going to sell one to you in whatever town you live in, because
the reason I know about it is a single dealership in England is sold 5 of them.
What?
So and it's really funny to read it, because they list Rolls-Royce and Pagani and Aston Martin and all these things, and at the end, in the press release about the Bugatti, they end with Radford. They're a Radford dealer. But when they put the little, all the information about the company paragraph, they never updated that because they leave Radford off of it. And, I don't understand this Radford company, but, they're building a $1 million, when it really comes down to it, Lotus Evora. So
it's craziness. Completely crazy. The world is nuts right now. And then we didn't even touch on what we're seeing as far as just pre-owned car prices on dealer lots right now. And that's for a completely different show as far as inflation in general. And I know we're about to run out of time, so I don't even want to open that topic up, but oh my God.
Well, I'm going to say something, and somebody pointed this out. This is from a podcast about podcasting. How the hell do you run out of time on a podcast? Yeah, most of we like to keep it around an hour because most of our listeners are used to that.
That is exactly why I was saying that. If you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it, and I've avoided that topic a lot because I can turn on anything and actually watch the news and hear a fairly intelligent conversation on used car prices, and we've been through, we've touched on it, but I kind of like talking about the multi-million-dollar cars because people don't talk about the way what you said is we're sitting down and casually talking about a $4 million car like
it's
there's nothing.
Normalized.
And I don't have $4 million for a car. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
I don't have $4 million.
I might look like it in everything in this fancy studio in here, in my
with your
one-bedroom apartment in the slums of Birmingham. But
I need to come check out your new apartment. I had no idea that you had a Formula E car in your den. I had no clue that.
Oh, yeah, I got that from my previous job. I mean, he had a Ferrari hanging on the wall. I can,
it's nice. It's nice. It's not. I had no idea. Like once I get my back fixed from that wreck, I'll have to see if I can shoehorn myself in.
You can come over. I bought the train from Silver Spoon, so you can just park out front, and the train will pick you up and run you in.
If that were the case, I would literally shut this down and head your way right now. If I thought there was even an inkling of truth in that, I would be on the way.
As close as I can come is I know where the old train from the zoo is. And I think it is for sale.
While I'm on the train heading towards your front door, I'll be singing "Fat Guy on a Little Train." It'd be amazing.
I don't know what that is, and I don't think I want to go down.
It's from Tommy Boy. You have to know that scene.
I'm watched Tommy Boy once. I'm not
Fat Guy. I'm not a little cove.
Here, surprising. I'm not a big Led Zeppelin fan. I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan. I'm not a big Chris Farley fan. So if it's popular to the world, I probably dislike it because I'm an asshole.
I don't like everything Chris Farley did, but Tommy Boy was funny. And Living in a Van Down by the River was wonderful. And we can talk about Living in a Van Down by the River because it's vehicular. And that's wonderful.
Hey, I was talking earlier that, if certain things that I'm doing in the next couple of weeks don't pan out, I might be living in my Mini. So
down by the river?
Well, person I was having the conversation with, I just said I didn't need a place to park the car. So, but from what I understand, Birmingham doesn't give parking tickets out anymore. Don't take that as gospel, but I haven't had opportunity to test it. But
we have room. Come on out.
Don't be surprised. I might show up one day with a Mini in one of those portable buildings.
You do what you got to do. We got a little land.
I get one of those 40-foot buildings with a garage door on the end. You can put the Mercedes on one side. I can put my Mini on the other side and
Hell, I might let you do that.
sleep in the loft.
Very much might let you do that. No, the world we live in is interesting, man. It's really interesting, and what we're watching unfold with inflation and the normalization. We're living in a world where $4 million plus cars have been normalized, but inflation is making us look at $30,000 cars like, oh crap, I don't know whether I really want to buy that if you're like a normal human being. And then, what's going to happen if Russia goes into the Ukraine, and there's so much crap, and I just don't know where we go, man. I don't know where we're going to be. Like this time next year, are we still going to be sitting here talking about $8 million cars being normalized, or is...
Well, if you think back a couple of years, this a little gentleman named Will Smith, some people have heard of him. He used to have a singing career, and he did a song. I can't remember. I think it was Miami, and he sings about $100,000 cars. Everybody's got them when you're talking about South Beach, and $100,000 car in South Beach. I mean, you got a Lexus. I mean.
Next year that might be a Civic.
But, I mean, if he's going to sing that now, it's those $100,000 cars that he's singing about are now our $1 million everyday cars. And you're right. We live in a world that people are buying $4 million cars all day long, and I'm going to the grocery store going, do I really want to pay $8 a pound for hamburger? And It's only $85.15.
That's crazy, man.
The world's nuts right now, and I don't want to get into the politics of that. I'm going to say I'm glad we're in a world that people can afford $4 million cars, and I'm glad we're in a world that the manufacturers realize that, and they're pushing technology and they're pushing the edge to build us $4 million cars and $5 million cars. And I believe Bugatti's even got one that they put out at 9.8 or something. It was a 1 or 2 off run.
Some of that technology will definitely eventually trickle down into the stuff that a human being living in the real world basically will be able to afford eventually. So
it always does. And if you want probably one of the most accurate real world examples is take the Porsche 959, out of this world spaceship in '88 when it came out. All-wheel drive, twin turbocharged, ABS, ABS, anti-lock brakes and that. And today you can go into the Porsche dealership and for just over $100,000 buy a Carrera 4 that will run circles around that 959 and also have maintenance bills that are 10% of what that 959 is.
You can buy a 718. You can buy a 718 for $68,000 to $75,000.
I can't buy an all-wheel drive 718.
That's true. That is true.
I can buy Carrera 4. If I want my 4-wheel drive Porsche, damn it, I got to get my Carrera 4. And then on the flip side, from what I understand, there is going to be a factory-built, regular production Porsche, whatever you want to call it, 99 whatever 2.8. I don't even know what number we're on, but Porsche 911 Safari. A lifted 4-wheel drive 911. And the reason behind it, Lamborghini's doing one also. You'll be able to buy a lifted 4-wheel drive Safari Huracan.
I don't know about the Huracan, but the Porsche has... I want mine with Rothman's livery on it. And the Porsche, there's a reason for Porsche to do it. Porsche's been there before. Lamborghini, that's a little weird, but okay, they'll sell a handful of them.
That both of them are supposed to be regular production. I mean, you can go in and just check on your option sheet. I mean, it's not even it's not like a GT3 where they're only going to build 3 less than the world wants. They're actually going to build as many as the world wants.
I actually talked to a couple shops when I had the Scat Pack about doing a Safari conversion on the Challenger.
Oh, that all of a sudden I'm thinking Mad Max.
No, I was going to do it more in the vein of the GT500s, the Mustangs that you saw back in the 60s and 70s, that they would put the 31-inch tires and a roll bar and some lights on them, and they had the roll bar with the spare tire mounted on it, and weld the doors up, and they're actually pretty cool looking, man.
I'm still thinking Mad Max. You haven't changed my picture at all in my head.
I dig it. I think it's just different enough. Like, there's part of me with the van that I was seriously, before my good friends at Van Culture were good enough to bequeath me with the wheels and the exhaust and the other parts that we got going on the van to turn it into the track monster. I was seriously thinking about some 29 or 31 off-roads and picking it up about 3 or 4 inches and just
no. What you've done to your van is good, and I didn't realize you'd went through the Van Culture guys, picked up some of that stuff. But your van looked pretty good the other day if you looked at it from the front 3/4.
Yeah, it's that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate what happened, but I mean,
you know what you ought to do, why it's in the shop, since they've got to do so much work. I can send you the link to the Truxarosa page, and you can get one of those Truxarosa body kits for it and put the wide body on it, and the straight is cut the
absolutely not.
Cut the cheese graters out of it so it's more of a coning.
No, kill the feed. Kill the feed. No, we're not going there. What I do want to do with it, though, it's just for folks who don't know, it's a 2019 Pacifica. Got some amazing Verde wheels on it now. They're 20 by 10s.
That doesn't mean they're green. That's the brand.
No, it's the brand. It's got straight through exhaust. It sounds like a pack of race cars. But it's also like when you're going down the highway at 80 mile an hour, you can have an adult conversation. It doesn't get rowdy until you're over 4,000 RPM with your foot to the floor. And when you are, it screams. Got a custom cold air intake on it. I've actually got a couple body pieces that the VK guys have been nice enough to shoot my way. And they're helping me play with it. And I love Paul and the Van Culture crew to death for letting me do it. And I love you for letting me say that on this show, because it's just cool, man. It's playing with that van like that is not the norm. And I love doing stuff that's completely out of the box when it comes to taking something to a racetrack. That's why I got into Volkswagens back in the day. Like, I loved playing around with Volkswagens, little air-cooled flat fours, and going out to autocrosses and just putting a hurting on stuff that shouldn't ever be able to be beaten by something like that. It's fun. It's a lot. Taking that van out on a racetrack puts a giant smile on my face, man. It's neat. And then you can put 4 or 5 people in it with you and take everybody for a ride, and it's cool, man. It's really cool.
I'm going to leave it at that. I can go way down that van route, some of the stuff that you've been exposed to in the past. And I wonder where those vehicles are now, but
oh my God.
I guess, like I said, we're racing through the world here, and we covered a lot. What did we cover tonight? Tesla, vans. I'm trying to.
I even said the words Russia and Ukraine. So we're global. We did race through the world. We went coast to coast.
Vans, minis.
We got someone tuned into the whole show from the UK. Mark's been listening to the whole show. So we have literally raced around the world. Good job.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back same time, same place next week. Maybe we'll actually be on time for 9:00. I have no idea what hosts will be here other than me. Check us out on NoDrivingGloves.com. There's links to everything, old shows. I've figured out the feed issue, and if you are a subscriber to the audio podcast, they are not edited episodes, but everything from December's hidden your podcast player right now. Everything from January will be hitting over the next week. Also, you'll probably actually get a download a day until we're all caught up on the audio side, and then the audio podcast we will return to the editing that the audio listeners deserve. The video listeners, too bad. You get to see my gorgeous mug every week, and that's enough. So, like I said, nodrivinggloves.com. Go there, buy us a coffee if you want to, or you just go to nodrivinggloves.com/coffee. Send us a couple of bucks if you did enjoy the show. And we're here. Send us an email, nodrivinggloves@gmail.com, whatever. And let us know show topics. Let us know what you think. And I'm out of here.
Me too. Get some sleep, Mark.